In the quiet town of Willow Creek, population just under 12,000, the rhythm of life was simple. People knew their neighbors, doors were often left unlocked, and the biggest events in the local newspaper were church fundraisers or high school football scores. That's why, when Emily Harper, a 32-year-old nurse at Willow Creek General, vanished without a trace one autumn evening, the entire community was shaken to its core. Emily was beloved. Patients described her as compassionate. Her colleagues admired her work ethic, and her neighbors often saw her jogging at dawn before heading to her long shifts at the hospital. She seemed like the last person to simply disappear. On the night of October 14th, Emily clocked out of her shift at 11:07 p.m. Security footage showed her leaving the hospital's back entrance, heading toward her car parked beneath a flickering streetlight. She never made it home. The next morning, her absence was reported when she failed to show up for an early shift. Her car was found in the lot, locked, with her purse inside. At first, investigators believed it was a random act of violence, a possible abduction in the poorly lit parking lot. The town buzzed with fear. Women avoided walking alone at night, and parents warned their children to be extra cautious. But as detectives dug deeper, a more complicated picture of Emily's life began to emerge. Emily had been living a double life of sorts. While she was engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Mark Reynolds, a local mechanic admired for his quiet demeanor, investigators discovered Emily had been quietly renting a small apartment on the edge of town. Inside, they found journals detailing her doubts about the upcoming wedding. She wrote of feeling trapped, uncertain about her future with Mark. The discovery put Mark under immediate suspicion. Friends recalled tense arguments in recent weeks. When questioned, he claimed he knew nothing of the apartment or the journals. His alibi for the night of her disappearance was weak. He said he'd fallen asleep watching TV. Just as suspicion around Mark grew, another lead surfaced. Emily had developed a close relationship with a doctor at the hospital, Dr. Christopher Lang. Colleagues whispered about late-night phone calls and hushed conversations in empty hallways. Dr. Lang denied anything inappropriate, but phone records showed dozens of texts exchanged between him and Emily in the days leading up to her disappearance. Had Emily been planning to leave her fiancé for someone else? Or was she simply confiding in a trusted friend? 3 weeks into the investigation, police received an anonymous tip about an abandoned hunting cabin just outside of Willow Creek. There, they found Emily's scrubs stuffed into a trash bag, stained with blood. Forensic tests confirmed it was hers. But the true shock came from a partial fingerprint lifted from the cabin door. It didn't match Mark. It didn't match Dr. Lang. Instead, it matched someone nobody expected, Sarah Mitchell, Emily's closest friend and fellow nurse. Sarah had been Emily's confidant for years. They worked side by side on long night shifts, shared coffee breaks, and even planned Emily's wedding together. But behind the facade of friendship, Sarah had been harboring deep resentment. Investigators uncovered that Sarah had feelings for Mark, Emily's fiancé, and had grown increasingly bitter as the wedding drew near. In a chilling confession, Sarah admitted she confronted Emily the night she disappeared. They argued in the parking lot, where Sarah offered Emily a ride home. Instead, she drove her to the cabin. What began as an emotional confrontation spiraled out of control. Sarah claimed she never meant for it to go that far, but Emily never left the cabin alive. The revelation shattered Willow Creek. How could a woman so trusted, so woven into the fabric of the community, betray her best friend in such a brutal way? The trial that followed gripped the town, with the courtroom packed every day. Mark, devastated, sat silently as the details emerged, while Emily's family wept through every testimony. In the end, Sarah was convicted of second-degree murder. Emily's body was never fully recovered, only fragments of evidence tying her to that lonely cabin. What began as a presumed random act of violence turned out to be something far darker. A crime born not from strangers lurking in the shadows, but from envy, obsession, and betrayal among friends. In Willow Creek, the whispers of Emily Harper's story remain. A reminder that sometimes the greatest dangers are not from outside forces, but from those we trust most.